Hi again guys, and welcome to another Forza Horizon 3 speed setup, and this time I believe this was a requested tune from a little while back for the classic 74 Toyota Celica. Very good looking little car. I've always considered this to be kind of a little Japanese muscle car, very influenced, I think, by the Mustang if I remember correctly. Now as far as the tuning goes, you've got a few options visually. As you can see, I have fitted the body kit. I personally think it looks great with the body kit. A lot of the older cars do, to me at least, with the blistered arches, with the rivets and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to do that though. You could go for more of a pure classic appearance if you want to. Of course, that's totally down to you. Now, as far as the engine conversions, that kind of thing, I have fitted it with the 6.2 litre V8. You've got a couple of other options, but that's the one that I'd recommend. You could always try it with the others if you want to. As far as drivetrain, we've got all-wheel drive, as I often would, and again, you don't have to do that if you're absolutely opposed to it. For aspiration, of course, you want the twin-turbo to get the best power out of it. Over 1,000 horsepower in the case of this car. For the visuals, it's all down to you. Stuff like wings, body kits, rims, of course, that's totally up to you. As you can see, I have fitted the roll cage on this one. As I've mentioned a number of times, muscle cars and classics in general are very responsive to having chassis and body rigidity upgrades. And included in that would be a roll cage. It helps with your launch off the line, and of course helps with your handling as well. The only payoff is a little bit of extra weight, which in the case of this car, it's still not that heavy anyway. Now for the rest, it's pretty much obvious what you need to do. Upgrade the power as far as you can, lower the weight as much as you reasonably can, and fit all of your racing parts, be it the suspension, the brakes, the diff, everything basically. Now as far as the benchmark, it's pretty rapid, especially for a classic. 240 miles per hour, at least according to the benchmark, is pretty good. 4.8 to 100, 2.8 to 60, again, given its power, decent numbers, certainly. Now, incidentally, this tune is on my storefront, but I can't guarantee how long it will be on my storefront for, because so far it hasn't been that popular a tune. So, as with some of my other slightly slower vehicles or slightly less popular tunes, if you do want to pick this up, and you're watching this soon after this video has been released, then I'd recommend going and getting it as quickly as possible, because I often delete tunes like this to make way for quicker ones later on. So, that being said, as far as the gearbox, I'd recommend, as you can see, a final drive of 2.7, then individual gears of 2.9, 2, 1.5, 1.17, 0.93 and 0.74. Then for the alignment, as I usually would, I've got neutral, camber and tow, although, to be fair, this is the kind of car that I know some people would like to stance, so if you want to do that, that's not going to hinder it too much. Caster we've got on 5 degrees, and again, you can adjust that as necessary for stiffer or looser steering. Anti-roll we've got on 34 and 18, springs on 182, 132, and I've opted for the lowest ride height, as I think most people probably would. Dampers I've got on 17, 12, 7.5 and 5.5. Aero doesn't apply for this one, and for the diff I haven't quite gone to 100%, because if you do, you drop a little bit on the 0 to 100 time in particular. But if you're more concerned with how it handles and performs in reality, rather than just the raw benchmark numbers, then I would recommend going all the way up to 100. It just doesn't look as good on paper, so it depends what you want from it. Then as far as the centre split, we haven't actually gone quite as tail happy in that regard as we often would. Again, primarily because of the benchmark numbers, we've gone for a 65% split, which is still fairly back heavy. But if you want to go further to 70 or 75 or even 80, then of course by all means do so, and that's the point of these tunes. I want you guys to play around. If you know something already that you prefer, a certain setting, then by all means go for it, or if you just want to have some fun, because again, these tunes aren't just about making the cars fast, they're about teaching other people who want to tune the basics of how to do it for themselves. So if you want to try other things, by all means go ahead. You can always just go back to these settings if it doesn't work anyway. So that's it for the tune. Now all that's left to do is of course take it out on the street to see what it can do. Now it's always nice when a vehicle that you do a tune for actually ends up not just meeting the benchmark number, but actually going beyond it. And as you can see from me driving this car, it actually does that. This car can go beyond 240, especially on downhill sections, up to around 243. I think it could probably bump 244 as well if I'd got it a little bit straighter downhill. So it's definitely got high speed potential galore, and if you want to use this car, which also incidentally has very nicely balanced steering, even without the exact settings that I would usually use, then of course I hope you have a lot of fun with it. And if you did enjoy it and would like to check out more for Horizon 3, I've done literally hundreds more tunes like this, which you can see all of by clicking through to the list at the end of this video. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.